Good morning, all you folks out there in YouTube land. Thrash Pondo here. And I'm here with a special request from friend of channel Zuper. He's been begging me for some time, for reasons known only to himself, to do another one of my infamous Wretched recaps. And he specifically asked me to do a Mad magazine. And after some digging, I managed to find this one. It's a magazine from June of 1981, and it features something which is possibly the most 80s of early 80s cult phenomenon status, the show Dallas, and Who Shot JR, among many other things. So, without further ado, in full color panels, which actually aren't full color because the magazine's in black and white, I shall bring you Mad Magazine, Volume 223. And I will skip the table of contents. That way, we'll kind of be surprised as we go. One thing I did find, this is actually really cute. It's a slam on a very young, or at least much younger, Stephen King. Here he is reading a Mad magazine upside down, and the caption is, "Well, at least he can write better than he reads." But bum, ha 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 ha. And anyway, moving forward, we open up with Dulles instead of Dallas. Dull us. I don't know if that's a reference to the fact the show is dull or if it's a slam on John Foster Dulles. Either way, we're going to move along. And here we see a remarkably dialogue heavy shtick where the cast members all introduce themselves in a very poignant and drawn out manner. And anyway, long story short, we find out that the main character, JR, in this case, JD, more about that later, is something of a dangerous person. And anyway, it basically it's just a bunch of like Dallas cliches about how he's always threatening people and seducing women and cheating on his wife and yada yada blah blah blah. And we skipped the payoff at the end is he gets his logical comeuppance, and that is, are you sitting down? JD is invited to go to Hollywood to become president, and he gets a stamp of approval from what was then still very much alive, Richard Nixon, among many other colorful Washington characters. And I'm just going to leave that at that and move on to the next bit. This one I thought was cute in a sort of post-apocalyptic venue. We see the street vendor here selling pencils for 15 cents when this end of the worldist walks by and says the world will end today at noon. He makes some quick scribbling on his card and says, "Going out of business sale. Pencils, 10 cents." But bum. Remember the line from Douglas Adams where he keeps over tipping the bartender right before the world is destroyed and warns him he only has 50 minutes left to spend it. Now here we see something that's kind of cute. It's t-shirts throughout history and some of the things they might wear. Like the Venus de Milo wears a 10. Now I don't know how many of you were around in the early 80s, but the movie 10 with Bo Derek was gigantic. So any young lady who thought she was hot was wearing a shirt that said 10. Sometimes they even braided their hair in that incredibly uncomfortable looking manner to braid women's hair. This is actually a really cute one. It's Baron von Richthofen with a Snoopy t-shirt. I thought that was kind of slick. Henry VIII says, "Fat people need love too." Well, fat men specifically, but men are people, in some cases at least. Mona Lisa says, "Smile, God loves you." And another particular favorite, here we see King Kong with a "I Heart New York." I thought that was kind of clever. Oh, and Joan of Arc saying, "Thank you for not smoking." Ha 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 ha. You see what you did there? Thank you for not smoking. Then we move on to something I thought was kind of clever. It's inventions that could kind of make life easier or better in the 1980s. One was the precious metal uh, garbage disposal, where if you accidentally put a ring or something down the drain, it lets you know so you could stop it. Another good one here is this pool cover, which is also a trampoline. So you can take something that's very dangerous when you're using it and turn it to something even more dangerous when you're not using it. It's a public service. And moving forward there, we also then goes on to see uh, this new shtick. It's the old gray line. Now, this is something. Now, Mad Magazine, as I'm sure you know, was a little on the anti-establishment side, and one of the things they like to poke fun of is at the military in a good-natured, good-hearted kind of way. And the old gray line was sort of a depiction of what uh, West Point was like in the traditional days with honor, tradition, service, and that type of thing. I don't know if I ever told you this. A distant relative of mine actually founded West Point, but that's a story for another time. But anyway, these two guys move in, become instant friends. Of course, join the football team. And the day of the big game, the general comes in to give them a pep talk and says, "Men, I order you to win this game," and leaves. And one starts crying and says, "Ah, the old general's uh, motivational speeches always get me all worked up." Anyway, one of them gets in trouble, and the other one sneaks out after lights out to help his friend, and actually proves that the friend was actually not responsible for the thing he was going to be expelled for. But the problem now is, now I have to turn you in for sneaking out after lights out. And the guy says, "Yes, you do, because if you don't turn me in, I'll have to turn you in for not turning me in. I'm getting a headache." And in the end, they decide that they're friends and they've done everything together and they've done everything for each other. So in this case, they'll make the ultimate sacrifice and they'll both turn him in. And he goes off to become a doctor or something equally non military related. And then we have a new gray line. And the new gray line is just a lot of cliches about how things have changed, and there's not as much discipline, and they do a lot of things that would get them expelled in the old days, like drugs and sneaking women onto the dorms, which gives a whole new meaning to the term "lights out." Ah, thank you, Matt, for that one. And then we go on to these snake charmers here, and how the father is teaching the son how to be a world class snake charmer, and the most important lesson he needs to learn is how to change the paper in the snake's basket without getting bitten, presumably. And a jolly laugh was had by all. And then we have something here about America putting its national monuments up for sale. They were going to turn the White House into like some type of bed and breakfast or something with the term "Hey, Reagan slept here." Haha, very good, very good. And moving forward, then we go to the lighter side. And what these were their way of poking fun at some of the things that people saw in their day to day life. One of them here is uh, this clown decides to park into a handicap spot. And when his girlfriend tells him that's for people who are handicapped, he goes, "I do have a handicap. I don't read so good." Ah! See what he did there? This young man asks if he could borrow the car so he can go to the pizza shop, which is just down the street. When the fathers were always like trying to import disciplines onto their kids in the day, much like now. The father says, "Do you know what your feet are for?" And the kid says, "Yes, one is for the gas and one is for the brake." Ha 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 ha. And so on and so forth. It's just some light tomfoolery. This one was my personal favorite. I quoted this one for years. Little boy won't eat his spinach. Mother says, "Eat your spinach." Kid says, "No." Father demands he eats the spinach. Says, "Do what your mother tells you to do, and then you'll grow up big and strong." And the kid says, "Okay, okay, I'll eat my spinach, so I can grow up big and strong. And then I'll tell the two of you what you can do with your lousy spinach." Yes. Oh, and here's another one. This trendy young couple have a really bizarre looking couch, and when their guest asks them why they got it, they go, "It's perfect for entertaining because it doesn't turn into a bed." You see what he did there? You see what he did there? Oh, and one last one. Dad comes home and they're going to give him a treat. They say, "We're not going to stay home for dinner. We're going to go out to eat." And going out to eat means he has to go and work the grill. But bump. Now here's something that is kind of clever. It's to let the punishment fit the crime update. And what they do here is they try to find creative punishments to get back at people who are kind of ruining civilization as they see it. nuclear power apologists have to store the waste in their basements. The overpaid baseball players have to explain to little kids why the prices keep going up so they can't afford their tickets, and so on and so forth. Personal favorite, though, the makers of all those horrible commercials on TV have to get locked into a room where they have to watch their commercials ad nauseum. Oh, and here we have a couple of how can you possibly believes? These are things where it's like, uh, is it just me or is this a crock? Like, for example, um, the doctor who says he wants you to stop smoking when there's a pack of cigarettes on his desk. You don't see that much anymore, but I will tell you, when I was a kid, a couple of doctors I had actually still smoked and told me not to smoke. The health food store clerk who looks like death warmed over. That's a particular favorite. And anyway, it just kind of goes on from there. And some unsung crossings. Uh, well, we're just gonna cross that when we come to it. Like now. Oh, and candid snapshots through history. One of the guy was late for his commute to the Trojan Horse, so he's trying to jump on board. Um, they're playing shuffleboard on Columbus's ship. Uh, Einstein decides to let his hair grow out, and so on and so forth. Uh, this one's sick. Father and Sunday at the Panama Canal. Yeah, I'm just gonna let that one lie. Moving forward, they then go on. They wrap this episode up with a parody of of ordinary people called Extraordinary People, and I gotta tell you, I found this one a little terrifying. I mean, I don't know how many of you have seen Ordinary People. It's a great movie, but it's one of the saddest movies ever made. So I applaud them if they thought they could turn it into comedy. But I'm just going to avoid it because I'll be too caught up in remembering how the movie actually played out, and so on and so forth. And then here we see a kind of a grim joke about capital punishment, and they put Teflon spray on the chair. I actually see this panel here. I actually got in trouble for this. As I'm sure you know, my father never really shared my love of science fiction and horror movies. Well, I can't say that in good conscience. When I was little, he loved sci-fi horror. He's the one who got me into it. But for some reason, when he grew a bit older, when my kid brother was born, he decided that sci-fi horror was unhealthy for a boy, so he basically forbid me from sharing anything sci-fi horror with my kid brother. That's why we watch a lot of Tom and Jerry and whatnot. But anyway, I had left this magazine out, and David opened up to the back page, and he saw this, and this freaked him out. This is one of those the fold-ins. What you do is you see a picture here of this horrible image, and it says horror movies can scar kids' minds and stuff like that. But then when you put the two together, I'm not going to put the two sides together because I don't want to bend it any more than it's already been destroyed. But you put it together and it shows an Oscar. So these horror movies up for an Oscar nomination. Ha ha ha! How clever! But anyway, David saw this and he like freaked, and he told my father that I was showing him a scary magazine, and I'm like, it was Mad Magazine. I didn't know it was going to be scary, but anyway, hilarity ensued. But anyway, that is all we have for today. Oh, with one final panel. Here we see the traditional joke of a guy chained to a wall, and he hears scratching, and he thinks it's going to be liberation. And what happens when the guy's trying to escape? Knocks the stone out, and the guy chained to the wall gets smooshied. Irony, huh? But anyway, that's all I got for you today. Let me know if you want me to do more wretched recaps. Let me know if you want me to do more of my creepy classics, my dad jokes, my well, you know what? You let me what you want to do for next time. But anyway, until next time, be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.